Welcome back to the Budding Author Podcast with me, Simon Ward, your host. Today we're talking to Robert Wolfe, MD. Hi, Robert. How you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Good. I'm good. Now, Robert, as the thing with writing is to write what you know and write what your passion is. And Robert's written his dad's story, Not a Real Enemy, a true story of an Hungarian Jewish man's fight for freedom. So it's clear what inspired you to write it. How long did the process take for you, Robert?
Well, we're at 6 years and counting. I mean, if you really want to go back, my parents wrote my dad's autobiography in the 70s. So they went from paper and pencil to typewriter to computer to disc. Then printed up the manuscript. I read it maybe once, probably 30 years ago. Didn't think much of it, except I remembered his first escape. He was a 4-time escape artist. We can come back to that too. But I remember that the most. But forgot about most of the rest of it. And then my dad passed in '97, and my mom passed in 2016, unfortunately. And I spent some time taking care of her affairs. But a historian friend of the family handed me the disc and said, "You've got to look at this sometime." And I didn't think much of it at the time, and I was busy with mom's affairs. And then I retired for a year, and then a friend of mine from Michigan asked me to read X-rays for his group, and which I've been doing from home since then, since 2016, 2018. And never burn your bridges. That's a good lesson with her, because he was a former partner of mine, and we kind of went our separate ways. But he needed help, so I went back to work. I've been a radiologist for 35 years now. So
neuroradiologist, isn't he? Yeah.
Neuroradiologist, yeah, head and neck, spine, brain imaging, that kind of thing. But now I'm just doing mostly X-ray and ultrasound. But needless to say, that brought me to the book. So as a radiologist, on the left screen we've got the queue, the patient's queue, and on the right screen we have the images. So between cases, on the left was my dad's autobiography, and on the right I was dictating as a biography. And I did it almost word for word, except I turned first person to third person, and a little bit of their English might have been fractured. But that said, multiple. So this is now 2018. That took a year, and then multiple queries. We were at the point of just self-publishing. I shouldn't say just, because many authors self-publish and they do just fine with it. But in the end, we all have that deep desire for traditional publishing. And so one of the beta readers picked up, she hooked me up with Janice Harper, my co-author, who did a wonderful job with the book. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for her. The book's
so did she sort of do a deep edit, developmental edit?
And deep edit, turned it into a novel, really. I mean, the story is true. Everything that happened to my dad is true, came from his own memoir, if you will, but it's longer. A memoir traditionally is one story, one venue, maybe two. This is 40 chapters, 40 stories, 20 miracles, on and on and on. So she mixed up the order of the events a little bit, and converging stories, parallel stories, conversations, letters to and from home, from a forced labor camp, for example, and in World War I, even my dad's parents. So a little bit. It was very enlightening, and it was an honor to be able to do this project. But that was the process, and so my co-author helped me with the vetting process, with the proposal package, which she did a great job. She vetted out. Maybe we had 12 or 15 publishers and agents, and literally bottom of the ninth, shoestring catch. I know you're from England. I don't know if you know anything about baseball, but really last minute, we got Amsterdam publishers. And fortunately, what happened in Amsterdam last week or 2 weeks, I'm worried I fear for their safety as well. I mean, even though she's Christian, the lady who runs AP Amsterdam Publishers, all she does is this genre is books about the Holocaust and related. Mine is more expounded a little bit, because we talk about communist Hungary. It's not only Nazi Hungary, but also communist Hungary. So I was very inspired when I read the story, and I couldn't leave it on a disc. I couldn't leave it on a computer, on a piece of paper. So I decided to share it with the world. And so I've had a great team throughout the process. I highly recommend for authors to use a team, whether it's book cover or website help or social media help, beta readers. Of course, you need testimonials. You want some professional testimonials or blurbs, whatever you want to call them, which we which we got it, and it's a process. It's not easy. It takes a lot of work, but if you're passionate, and I think you said that early on, if you're passionate about your work, then it's highly motivating, and especially now with what's going on, fighting anti-Semitism while I'm sharing amazing, miraculous stories about a loved one. So, and how racism and anti-Semitism can affect different people differently. It's not just, I shouldn't say just, people at concentration camps. A lot of people suffer. Jews, Christians, gay people, LGBTQ, rabbis, clowns. I mean, there's no sugarcoating in this book, that's for sure. So,
well, I think one commenter read that it was like another aspect of World War II and the following wars. So it's like a different view, and I think going with the first person for a lot of it is that's hard work, isn't it? Writing the first person.
Well, it is, or converting it from first to third. It's meticulous work. I got better at it. At first I was doing 1 page at a time or 2 pages at a time, but then the urgency became there because I was moving down to Florida from Massachusetts, and so I wanted to get the project done before I packed up my computer and everything, because I started to roll. So by the end of the process, I was doing 5-10 pages a day. You become more efficient, you know what you're doing, and then. But still, we failed at getting an agent or a publisher to be interested in the book the way it was, because it is a history book. It covers Hungary from World War I to the end of the Hungarian Revolution in '56, and not many people know about all of that, or Hungary's plight in World War II and the time under communists in between. So we enlighten with that and reveal that, plus my dad's biography, of course, and it's a real adventure. I mean, 4 escapes. A little teaser, he missed an escape under communist Hungary. He went to the wrong train station. He thought he was the unluckiest guy in the world. Turns out everybody who made that train got arrested by the communists, and including my dad's medical school roommate. And he was in jail for a while, and that could have been my father. And every step that my dad made, or as under Nazi Hungary or communist Hungary, you had to watch what you said, where you were, what you did. It's really scary stuff. And I imagine it's going on now in North Korea and Iran and China and Russia, wherever else. Our enemies.
It's a dangerous time, isn't it? Hard time for a lot of people.
Very hard. I can't imagine this war going on for years and years. And I don't know, with the changing of the guard here in the United States, I hope helps bring a truce both in the Ukraine war and in the Middle East, of course. But and the big lesson is that we're talking about stuff that happened 60, 80, 100 years ago. And here we are going through it again and again and again. And the only difference is people find different ways to persecute and to maim and to torture. And
it's all very similar in some ways, different styles. But I mean, the torture,
and the people,
mental or physical, is still there, isn't it?
Absolutely. And the people that are lauding Hitler, for example, and this is something else I always say, it's always one guy that ruins for everybody. You know, it's Hitler or Osama bin Laden or Pol Pot or whoever, you can name it. And more people follow them than they follow the right people, like Moses and Gandhi and MLK, my heroes. And I wish people would read more of their work rather than all the nonsense on social media. But that said, 60, 80, 100 years, my parents wrote the story as though they knew I would do this. And if you talk to me 6 years ago, you say, this guy would never write a book. I'm into math and science and anatomy as a radiologist. I wrote a few articles or participated in that, but that was part of the training process. You had to at least for residency. And then as a fellow, you kind of wanted to do it to get professor's favor. You get, but I was never a researcher. Some people can write, and for me, but I was just motivated. And like I said, I got a lot of help with it. And my parents wrote the thing like they knew I was going to do this, and like they knew that this would be an issue down the road. And sure enough, don't you hate it when your parents are right?
Well, what I want to talk about is within your process of doing it, you say every couple of days you're sort of like doing a bunch. Were you then sending that to Janice, or had you finished everything before Janice looked at it?
It's a great question. No, the whole manuscript was done, and we sent to her as such. Now everything was digital at this point. I think I sent a few of the rough copies from the first edition to. I mean, I'm crazy. Tom Hanks, he's a big history buff. We queried. And then I queried some other people after the fact. Natasha Lyonne, Hungarian. She's a pretty fine actress. You mostly see her on Netflix and stuff. And Adrian Brody, another Hungarian Jewish guy. And they're long shots, but we sent them mostly electronic, but in some cases, hard copies of the book. And Bob Kraft, the owner of New England Patriots, that kind of thing.
Is this for testimonials? Yeah.
No, testimonials were by professors. We had a wonderful, most notably Michael Berenbaum, who was a advisor for Spielberg in the Shoah movie. I believe it was early 2000 to early 2000, the early part of the century that came out. I think my mom was in it too. I have to review that movie again, but my mom was definitely interviewed for that movie with Steven Spielberg. We did query. I queried Steven Spielberg, but his lawyers sent back the book with a really nice letter saying, he just doesn't do this anymore, and there's fear of lawsuits and this and that and that. But no, the whole book was done, completed, and then beta read, and that's when somebody said, "Why don't you try Janice Harper?" And Janice offered to coach me through rewriting the book, or she said, "Let me do it for you for a fee." It's not inexpensive, but worth it to me, because if it weren't for her and the rest of the team, again, I wouldn't be here. And
she sort of helped sort of put it all together for you.
And she's very pragmatic, so her advice was good. Not a lot of wasted time. She's an anthropologist by trade. She's also got a Michigan root like I do. She went to Michigan State and got her PhD there. And she's out in Washington now, and I look forward. She's like a sister to me now, and even though I've never met her live and in person, good lady, and she's written her own books about like how to get your PhD. That would be a book of mine. Would be, for example, the things they don't teach you in medical school, which would be part autobiography, and part comedy and humor. Like you could do a lot with that. Talk about insurances and lawsuits and partnership tracks.
Yeah, I think. Are you looking to write other books, or was this like a one-time deal for you?
Well, I've got 3 more. That'd be one of them. The other one would be part 2 of my dad's story, because the book only takes us to Vienna. The book ends after my parents' escape, my dad's 4th escape.
So we have a start of a series then, yeah?
Well, that the book alone could be a series, and we are actually querying some producers. I got help from a screenwriter, so I paid him a little bit and he was reasonable. And we've already queried 4 producers, and he's got a few more in line, and they're from top shelf places. And that's another long shot, but it's worth it. It's worth the shot. So
I think everybody, as a writer, you need moonshots, don't you? Similarly for me, I've written a series, a young adult series that I'm sort of pitching for sort of Netflix and Disney and that sort of thing. So
I wish you the best of luck. I think I should read your book too, and I don't know if I've sent you a copy of mine or if you've got a hold of it, but if not,
I think you were sending one in the post, but it's not arrived yet, I think.
Oh, if I did, I'm not sure that I got it, but when we're done, if you just don't mind emailing me your address, or I can send you an electronic copy of that. That way I know you get it, because South Africa's a disaster, for example, and as far as their mail, and it took a lot of effort just to get a few books to the Holocaust Museum there. So
I was going to say the Holocaust Museum. You've got the books out at quite a few places, haven't you?
Yeah, it's available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, the traditional Walmart, mostly online. We've got an audiobook out now that's new. The gentleman who did the audiobook did a great job. He was very reasonable, named Greg.
Who was that? Who was that did the audiobook for you?
Dwyer was his name, and he was. I met him through a friend that I met here. I can't remember. Deborah Stitt, who's here in Southern Florida, and I guess I met her through LinkedIn. I suppose a friend of a friend, that kind of thing. And she's a voice actor herself, and she gave me about 8 or 9 people and made the job really easy. And there are a lot of outstanding voice actors, but we picked him, and an Australian guy. So, and I just read over the weekend that anti-Semitism is bad in Australia. And when I was at the Holocaust Museum twice, it's such a privilege. The one in D.C., but I've also been in Illinois, and I'm going to Long Island next year, and on and on and on. I could do that every day, talking to the kids and families about the book and about what anti-Semitism is about and genocide. But those are important things. And but no, the audiobook's out, and so the book is available at those Holocaust Museums, Illinois, D.C., a few where else? Michigan, the Zeckelman Center, and in Long Island, where I'm doing a presentation in the spring next year. So where else? I'm doing a lot of. I've done like 100. You have to do book talks, book presentations. You have to do these signings. Many of them you're going to lose a lot of money on. It's not just about the money, at least in my case, thank God.
It's getting the message out there, isn't it?
Getting the message out there. So, I've done TV interviews. I spent a lot of money for that. I'm hoping someday, if the book becomes a better seller, it's doing okay. It's just, you always think you're going to be a New York Times bestseller. That's kind of the goal, but I'm satisfied. If one person a day reads the book, then at least more people will learn about my dad's story. And that's the goal I had in the beginning. But then you kind of get greedy and you want more and more and more. But it's part of it. Some people are afraid of success and some people are afraid of failure. And the fear of success is the amount of work that comes with it. The more successful you are, the more podcasts you do, the more work it is. But for me, it's a labor of love. So as long as I'm healthy and I'm able to do this, I'm going to continue doing it, and especially now. So,
yeah, I think it's the effort to get there, isn't it? Like, you can't just finish a book and just say, okay, that's done and laid aside. Promoting your work and personal appearances and that sort of thing for book signings and book talks. That's the only way you're going to really gain traction as an author. If you're just hidden within an Amazon algorithm and relying on Amazon ads, you're going to struggle.
Yeah, and in fact, it's funny you mentioned that, because a couple of weeks ago, somebody else on Twitter, or X as they call it now, mentioned doing this time of year, because it's holiday season, Amazon ads, and it didn't occur to me. I've never really done an Amazon ad, so maybe I should. But I am very active on social media, as you probably saw. On X,
You've got quite a following, haven't you? Yeah.
Instagram, I had a little help with that, but it asymptotes. It peaks out. I mean, so, but I still work at it every day, and then sometimes you'll find the right person, another author. I don't get many podcasts out of X, but maybe that's on my end. I'm not spending a lot of time with it. However, I'm on Podmatch, which for authors, you may want to consider that if you like doing podcasts as a host or a guest.
Podmatch.
Podmatch, yep. It's a little bit of a work to get it set up, but once you do, it's pretty smooth. It goes pretty smoothly, and I'm getting a lot of good podcasts out of that too. So there's Podbean and all these others, and some people are hooking me up with that, but that's from their end. But for me, Podmatch has worked really well. So it's a nice bonus. I love getting out of Podmatch type of podcast, because that means more people are following and more people are interested in the book. So it's very gratifying. Facebook, I mean,
it surprises me. It surprises me that the podcast version of this show has far more views than the video. Maybe people don't like looking at us. I don't know. Perhaps.
And podcasts are up and coming. I mean, I've heard on the TV and the radio that people talk about everybody and his mother. That's a podcast, but not me. I enjoy being a guest. I can't imagine hosting. They say that's so busy, especially editing, and if you want to do musical segues and things like that, it could be a lot of work, whatever you put into it. But but LinkedIn is my favorite. Instagram I could give up, I suppose. More people are interested in boobs than books, unfortunately, and that's probably myself included, But LinkedIn is the best way to go. It's the most professional. There's 900 million people on LinkedIn, so believe me, I want to pitch them all, but that's not going to happen, of course. But
it's finding the right market, isn't it? Targeting the right people.
Yeah, you can find people in your genre, and I recommend that too if you're not active on LinkedIn. I think for authors, that's probably the best way to go. I think it's the most professional. There's a lot less foolishness, and once you start networking with the right people, I think it's a great way to get more podcasts and actually book presentations, truthfully. So I was in London last year. I want to say, was it last year? Maybe it was 2 years ago. Loved it. And I was there through a genealogy society, and I met some people there. I didn't sell a lot of books in London, so I had to ship them all back. That cost an arm and a leg from the hotel. But it was a good meeting, and of course, I slept in the day that they had a Hungarian talking about their plight, so I missed all the Hungarians. But I still sold a few books. But more importantly, a couple of people from Florida met me there, and they hooked me up with at least 2 or 3 presentations down here. So when I get back, and when you do that, hopefully there's at least one other person. They come from a different synagogue or a different organization, and you might network with them. It's a process. I've had a 50% sales rate with 80 people attending, and I've had 12 people attending with a 50% sales rate, which is more than satisfactory, maybe even higher than that. Let's say 25 people, and I sold 12 books. Amazing. And then I had 60 people and sold 2 books. So you can't tell, you can't predict. You're happy with what you get, and you try to network. And as you know, that many of these potential networks, including like the Holocaust Museum, where everybody gets the card, my business card, this and that, please follow up. I'll go see you in Kansas City, this and that, and most of those they just fall through the floor. And it's a fickle business, and you learn as you go. I mean, I'm sure you learn every day, right? I mean, You learn from your mistakes. You learn from the other guy's mistakes.
Absolutely. We look back, from my point of view, I looked at some short stories I'd done about 3-4 years ago, and I spotted massive holes in them, and I just had to sort of give them a real sort of rip apart and pull them together again, sort of thing. And that's all part of the learning journey. I think the more you write, the better you get. But it's important to get feedback on your work, isn't it? How many beta readers did you use?
Probably 2 or 3. And when I were between the original version, my original version, and before I sent it to Jet, probably 2 or 3. And one of them was this professional writer, Lisa Tenner in Rhode Island, and she's written 4 or 5 books, many award-winning books. And she helped me not only find Janice, but also the gentleman who did the book cover, which a lot of people really like, Croatian. I never met him. It was all the whole transaction was done through emails and electronic payments. But his heart was close to the story because he was from the Eastern European area. So he did an amazing job. So Lisa hooks me up with him, my co-author, and also people that can help me win awards. The right people to vet. So fantastic.
So what awards was it you won? Just tell
Say
us.
that again.
Which awards did you win? Just tell us.
I haven't announced in a while. Forgive me. I'm going to hold my book up for just a second, then I'll just read off the. Whoops, going the wrong way here. And there's a lot of glare.
Yeah, I see that.
So that's 4. It's
the National Indie Awards.
Yep, the NIEA, the Living Now Book Awards, and the Reader's Favorite Book Award. And maybe we could have won more, but I don't even know what to do with that. I mean, I'm not the type to sit on my laurels, pat myself on the back. I think it's amazing. Maybe someday I'll look back to 2-3 years from now and say, wow, we did something pretty good. But it doesn't mean what it does mean is important people that are in the know, professionals, think that the book is good quality and that the work is important. And that's how I see it. But it doesn't mean squat. It doesn't mean anything if I can't and my book can't help fight anti-Semitism in the way the world. So, it's a two-tiered thing.
It's all about awareness, isn't it? And by having it more as a story rather than just a knowledge base.
Correct.
Makes it much more readable.
Yeah,
and the work that Janice has done to help you with that's made it a much more readable book, and the message gets across. All too often, we have to be careful to keep the flow of a story. Where are you on the description versus pace debate?
Yeah, no, I know. So they're both important. I mean, description, the thing with the book that a lot of people read is you can smell the smells, you feel the cold. The way we describe the way the dinner table was set, the starvation, the terror in the escapes, the fear, you feel it. I mean, not only you can empathize with Irvin, my dad, the main character, but also you become him. You actually put yourself in his shoes, and then you say, well, how would I do this, or how would I survive this? And you're on the run, and you've escaped, right? But you don't have a job, you don't have a place to live, you don't have food. You're Jewish, you got the forced labor camps. They had to wear the yellow bands instead of yellow stars, but totally ridiculous. And a hat. They weren't armed, even though they were shelled by Russian planes while they were during World War II, while they're in forced labor camps out in the middle of nowhere, that kind of thing. And people died in my dad's camps. My dad was a survivor. He went through a lot anyway: a foot infection and spine injury and food poisoning, hepatitis twice. Before his
went through the mill, then.
What's that?
He certainly went through the mill with it.
He went through the mill, and then we always talk about the light at the end of the tunnel. So you've gotten away, and you might be running on some train tracks or toward Budapest, but what's the light at the end of the tunnel? You don't even know. You're still hiding, even if you end up in a civilized world. You're back in, but you're still hiding. And the miracles that my dad, the places he had to hide, and the people he met, the way he got into medical school was a miracle. The way he found out about his parents, whatever happened to them, through a friend in his hometown months after the war. They perished at Auschwitz, my dad's parents. So his dad was a dentist, and he gave freebies to the underprivileged in his hometown, and obvious threat to society. My mom's grandfather was a rabbi, and he also perished at Auschwitz. So there's no sugarcoating, but miraculous how my dad ran into this lady in his hometown, and she was an eyewitness at Auschwitz and told my dad exactly what happened to his parents. Good or bad, they died early on when they were there, which I think I would prefer it that way. If you're going to kill me anyway, who wants to be suffering cold and starving and tortured and watching other people die for months at a time? No, thank you. I mean, no rescue in sight. Yeah. So anyway, but it's all in the book, and it's as far as my dad. I mean, he wrote the stories as though they happened the previous day, even though it was the 70s. The way he described the smells and the sounds and the fear, it was like as though it happened the previous day. And my parents were very sharp, well-educated, well-read people, well-rounded. They educated about the Holocaust and history, but also education, travel, the fine arts, museums, opera, theater, ballet. I was fortunate enough to be raised with that kind of exposure, and I can't. And also the exposure of tolerance and knowing other people. Yeah. My parents, and I'm the same way. My parents had a lot of Christian friends, Jewish friends, Muslim, Asian, the whole world. They had people from Africa, continental Africa, that were friends. They like to engage people and learn about their cultures and learn about their stories. And it's a little late in my life for me to be doing that because I've been in medicine and just working or with a family. But now I'm kind of doing the same thing, and that's another great part of this adventure, being an author, is meeting.
Yeah, it's finding that balance in later life, isn't it?
It is, and this is my charge now. I mean, I'm working very part-time radiology. I'm ready to give that up. I could probably make more in Social Security now than I could from my job. I mean, I'm working that little, but it's just keeping me in the loop. And once you're out, you're out. I think it's like a poker game. Once you're out, you're out. So I'm sticking with the radiology, but my charge and my heart are more with the book and the messages.
Yeah. And I think as a writer, you fall in love with the process, and it's not always for the money, or often it's not for the money, but just to enjoy the writing process is, and it's slightly different for yourself because the characters are real. But from my point of view, to sort of create my own character and then sort of that character comes alive in my mind, it's sort of such a marvelous world, and a great escape from the stresses of different kinds of things at work and that sort of thing.
It is. No, it's a very gratifying process. It's work, like we've said, and there's burnout in it too. I mean, I've experienced burnout. I'd wake up some mornings and said, nobody gives a bleep about anti-Semitism, and apathy is part of it. And you think, well, every JCC in the country and every Holocaust museum in the country should be calling me up and having me do. But there's a lot of good books out there. It's not just. And
there's so much competition. It's the marketing and that sort of thing. And as you say, the book wouldn't be for everybody. But I mean,
I was going to say that next. Yeah, not everybody can read about the Holocaust and horror and the perils. Some people like comedy. Some people like children's books, of course, and other things like that. So no, there's no doubt. And I don't like the word competition because I don't want to feel like I'm competing with other Amsterdam publishers, authors, or people that are writing about Hungary or persecution or the Holocaust. And there's so many, I'd recommend all of them. But it's also the competition for the entertainment time, not so much the entertainment dollar, because you got Netflix, you've got Hulu.
Yeah, there's so much competition for people's time, isn't there?
For people's time. I mean, and that COVID really made it more, because now people don't answer the phone. They sometimes not emails, texts. I can't say that about everybody, because for me, important phone, I return everybody's calls and emails, especially if it's about the book or being able to do a presentation. But it's changed. Our communication, I don't know if it's our skills or our willingness to, I guess we realize that time is short and time is valuable. And it's another thing I always say, it's really our only commodity, time. We have gold and silver and real estate and stocks and bonds and all that other stuff, but time is really our only commodity. So I hate wasted time as much as anything, but working on a book, you're going to get that working on a book, because you're going to get those rejections. You're going to get, that kind of thing. You're going to get
I think the most of all, you want people to read your book, and you want to know what people think after they've read your book. That kind of thing for me.
The feedback means a lot. I mean, that's
like beta readers and sort of final readers, sort of thing.
And readers I don't know, people I don't know. It's wonderful. But my hometown in Michigan, I got more support from my hometown. Still am. I mean, it's unbelievable. People that I went to shul with, the synagogue with, high school classmates, and even people that I've never met that live in Dallas and other parts.
It's nice to have flag wavers, isn't it?
What's that?
it's nice to have flag wavers back in your cause. Yeah.
Absolutely, I love it. And it's hard, if you move up the level, like to where I went to college at Tufts or Michigan for medical, it's different. And trying to pitch other doctors or query, I don't pitch is kind of a crude word, but it is what it is. Some have read, you would think your whole class in medical school would read the book, or half the class, but it doesn't work out that way.
No. Well, I've had exactly the same. If everybody that had said they were going to read my book had read my book, then but
there you go.
It's
well,
one
here's
of those.
that 1% penetrance out of, there's 1 billion people on Facebook, let's say, but Facebook's got a lot of crap, and it's got a lot of stuff that I need to vet out and maybe start all over again. But I do have a Facebook author page as well, or Meta as they call it. But for LinkedIn, 900 million people, if I had a 1% penetrance rate, penetrance is a genetics word, but for me it would mean a sale.
That's the challenge, I guess.
I mean, or 9 million copies. So, and that would have been, that's kind of like a back of my mind goal. But the reality is it'd be so cool. I mean, because I believe in bonuses. I'd like to help my team, a few bonuses for all the work they've done, and help the kids out and the grandkids maybe with a few extra shekels, that kind of thing. But other than that,
what's important now, Robert, you're leaving a legacy, and leaving a legacy of your work, which I think is key. We've run out of time, but this has been great having you on, and looking forward to getting a copy of the book, so I can have a read of that. I've just got one I'm just finishing at the minute, so that'll be sort of perfect to sort of step right into that. I've been Simon Ward, Bud North Podcast, and with Robert Wolf, MD. Thanks for watching, everybody. Cheers.
Thanks for having me. Not a real enemy.